Garment design is basically Lego for clothes making. You learn how to design different separate parts and then you decide in what order you put them together. Just like with Lego, sometimes things go wrong. Just like with this jacket. I think that I have successfully created the ugliest design ever. And in today's video, I'll break down step by step how I ended up with this masterpiece. And if you're new here, hi and welcome. My name is Lisa Bennett. I am co-founder of Studio Arkdefo, designer and educator. My mission and biggest passion in life is helping women feeling great in their bodies with clothing that fit just right. Instead of selling you ready patterns that usually don't work anyway, I teach you how to understand clothes making inside out. And if you've taken any of our online courses or watched our content on any of the platforms, you know that I'm a huge advocate for normalizing mistakes, because mistakes is the only true way to master the skill. And it's not something that just happens in the beginning and then forever and ever you have this error-free process. It doesn't work this way, because with every new project you try something new, you try something different, something that you have never done before, and this experimenting, the readiness to be creative, opens new possibilities for all sorts of mistakes and bad decisions. But this is okay, because this is the part of the process. Even if in the end you end up with a really bad design, you still will have learned something every time you commit to a project. So this misunderstanding of a jacket started with an idea that was brewing in my head for a couple of months, if not a year. I really wanted to try to make a collar with the cutouts. Why? Because why not? And I thought of different shapes for these cutouts, maybe circles, maybe squares, maybe one circle, one square, or a triangular shape, anything. I just really wanted to try it out and see how it would look. Because here's the thing, sometimes you have this great idea for the garment design, but once you finish it, you realize that the idea actually wasn't as great. And we all have different working routines. And for me personally, very often the true way to truly feel if I love the design or hate it is to actually make it. These cutouts, in my opinion, are a total disaster. I hate the fact that the facings are of the different color and the color pops out. And even more than that, I really don't like the fact that those are two different colors. And the collar looks like it's a face of an owl. And it could have been cute for a kid's jacket, but it's definitely not my vibe. So how did I end up with this? One morning, I had a nudge to finally try it out. But what's the point of trying it out if I don't film it, right? And since it's now an educational video, I need a cut of photogenic fabric. And the best I could find was this old cut of denim. And to make it even more visual, I decided to make facings in a different color, or even better, two different colors. That was truly the first step to disaster. I really don't like how the color pop looks here, and the fact that they're different annoys me even more. And I don't have the explanation for the double colored bias tape here. Don't ask me what was going on in my head. Not a fan. Every time I made something with a rounded collar, I didn't love the garment. So finally, after finishing this silly jacket, I can admit I don't like rounded collars. I am 100% a pointy collar type. But if the entire collar annoyed me so much at that stage, why would I even continue and make an entire jacket? That's a great question. Because I was in a very playful testing mode, and I decided to give a try to a few more designs that I have never made for myself. A Frankenstein of ideas type of jacket. I really wanted to try make a very cropped jacket and see how I would feel in it. Something lightweight for the summer, maybe wearing with fit and flare dresses. I don't know, I just wanted to try it out. Well, this length is way too short and I certainly don't feel comfortable in it. And to me, clothes are always, first of all, about comfort. If I don't feel the jacket on the lower back, I see no point in a jacket. I'm not getting warmer where I would very much like to get warmer. Like, I feel the presence of the jacket, but I don't feel the warmth of it. And also when you look at it from the side or from the back, especially with this kind of dress, it really looks like something from 1800s, and as much as I love the era, it's not something I would want to wear. To me personally, it's a disaster when it comes to styling. There is literally nothing that I have that looks great with this jacket. It just looks silly, as if I didn't have enough fabric to make an actual jacket. And imagine my surprise when I was scrolling Pinterest another day and I saw that this highly cropped jacket are the next new thing. I would definitely pass on this trend. I do love short jackets, but they need to cover the lower of the back, and I will be making short jackets. But as for cropped ones, that's it. But wait, we're not done yet. There are the sleeves. Separately speaking, bishop sleeves are crazy beautiful. They have this amazing volume around your wrist and they can look really, really fantastic. But I've never gotten to making anything with them because I always thought that they are very impractical. Like, surely this volume will be getting on the way of everything. And on top of that, when it comes to general day-to-day wearing clothes, when I'm wearing shirts, for example, I tend to roll up my sleeves. I really like that look. But I don't see how I could possibly roll up all this volume here. And I always thought that if I designed a blouse or a dress with this big bishop sleeves, that I would never be able to put a jumper or even a jacket on top unless it also had a bishop sleeve. So overall, I had this understanding that the bishop sleeve is not something that I would wear, but I always wanted to give it a try. So here we are. I did actually wear this jacket a couple of times to see how I feel in it, and I can confirm that bishop sleeve, even though this is not crazy voluminous sleeve, is really uncomfortable in day-to-day tasks. This is not a sleeve for me, but there is more. First of all, I followed my usual path of making a sleeve slightly longer. I love really long sleeves to the middle of the wrist, please. And why waste time on a sleeve opening and a cuff when I can just make a cuff? Those two decisions combined were a recipe for a very uncomfortable sleeve. Not only I can't even attempt to lift it up, it's too low, and in case of the volume here, it's not comfortable at all. And I don't like how it looks either. Maybe if I made an elasticated cuff, it could have worked, but I'm still not convinced with the sleeves. We're still not done. I have a pear body shape, which means that hips are the widest part of my body. For the good visual balance, I should be adding more volume to the top, making my shoulders visually bigger, and this will create really nice proportions. But what is happening here? These sleeves have turned me into a literal pear. There's no volume at the top. All the volume is right next to my hips. So instead of balancing proportions, I visually double the size of my hips. And we're not going to talk about the absence of pockets in this jacket because by this point I truly give up. And also, this jacket is not just a disaster in its constituent parts, but as a whole, it's a very bad garment design. These are very bad proportions. It looks unfinished. With such huge sleeves, I want to have more length, more weight of the bodice. It looks half done. When you design something, you need to be thinking not just of separate elements, but how they communicate with the other ones. As you can see in this example, when you design something based on Frankenstein idea, I'm going to try this and this and this and that, there is a high chance that it turns out to be something really clumsy looking because the details don't speak to each other, and you always need to keep this in mind. If I make this collar, does it work with this bodice? If I make this bodice, does it work with this sleeve? If I make this sleeve, does it work with whatever, you know? So whenever you're designing a garment, you really want to consider the big picture and not just the separate details. Having said that, I always encourage our students to try things out, to experiment. And I'm saying this because I'm doing the same all the time. Sometimes an idea in your head does not translate into a beautiful garment, but it's okay. When you try it, you will learn something different. For example, I know that now I won't waste fabric for crop jackets. I won't waste fabric for bishop sleeves. It's not my thing. I won't be attempting any more rounded collars. I don't like them. With every single project you accomplish, you are learning something. Good or bad, doesn't matter. That's the priceless, unique to you experience that you're gaining. And overall, in the end of the day, I'm really happy that I have tried all the concepts. I am not happy with the final result. However, some of the design ideas can be pushed further and they can lead somewhere. And these cutouts could create wonderful opportunities for styling, either during the garment design, some potential for inserting belts and connecting with pockets, making the top a bit more interesting, or for wearing. For example, you could thread a lightweight scarf through the circles and raise the collar up. The one thing I want you to take away from this video: mistakes are okay, experimenting is fantastic, and allowing things to go wrong is a great way to learn something new. So don't be too hard on yourself. Sometimes things don't work out. So what? You still will have learned something. And if you have any similar stories you could share, I would love to read them in the comments. And that's it for today. Stay creative, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. See you next week.